Prague. On the horizon on your left, you can see during your tour, the first day in Prague, Charles Bridge is out of sight. On your right, it's that complex of the Břevnov monastery. The history was started in the 10th century. It's from 1730. For a moment, the other group is only on the way, so I will lead it. The place is famous, for instance, for the first production of pocket watches from 1509 up to his death in 1526, was the moat or remains of the moat.
For somebody over there.
So there is also similar to what was in Prague. But unlike in Prague, you see there's sunshine. Well, before we approach the parking place, I would like to kindly ask you, please make sure you don't forget any of these things. Actually, if you forget, still you have an opportunity to quickly come back because our bus will be leaving at 2 o'clock, but if you understand, you will have another buses that will take you to Well, I cannot really guarantee there's a problem with parking, that it might happen that the buses will be sent away, or they will have to leave if there are more buses. Sometimes the situation is quiet and there are no more buses, and our ones can stay longer, but I think that it will be safer with you right away. In that time in between 1:30, you are then leaving by the other buses for the city tour. So then when they arrive, you can put all your stuff into those new buses.
Kakvi si ti bili smatrili pred... zeigen, was für Hausaufgaben oder Spielen weil ich noch brauche. Ja, aber trotzdem.
Time when Martin Luther said about Nuremberg that among all German cities, Nuremberg is shining like a sun is shining among the stars. But Nuremberg also played an important role during the darkest chapter of German history, the so-called Third Reich, when Nuremberg became the city of the Nazi Party rallies. And Palace of Justice is situated in the west of that city. We are now in the city center. So first, really needs a little break. This is mandatory by law that a driver, for security reasons, has to make a break of a certain time. But thankfully, half an hour is over, so he's allowed to drive now. So first we will drive to the Palace of Justice in the west of Nuremberg. Then we drive to the Nazi Party rally grounds in the southeast of Nuremberg, and then we return to the city center, pass by the famous imperial castle of Nuremberg, and then I end my tour here in the Augustinerstraße again. And now the biggest half-timbered house of Nuremberg, a former wine store, which is now in the hands of students, and that makes total sense to me. To take pictures, especially nice on the left-hand side. Have a look at that nice bridge, a pedestrian bridge. That's the Hangman's Bridge. This is where the hangman of Nuremberg used to cross the river on his way to work, but he's unemployed now because we don't have death penalty since 19. You have another half-timbered house, and on the statue, on the corner, you see a statue of the world. So many statues of saints and of the Madonna. If you would go to Switzerland and you see a product of the time before 1525. On the left-hand side, there was an older city wall from 1300, but that city wall needed a city big enough for their purpose, which was not completely destroyed by the Allied air raids in 1945. That was a pretty tough task. Enough from the city center, which was destroyed for more than 90%. So all the old quarters, the southern part of Nuremberg with the industrial areas and the working class housing facilities, this was all put to rest. So these are houses erected around the year 1900, and all the houses in front of us. And, ladies and gentlemen, all these buildings we have here on the right side, from the building behind the pit stop all the way nearly to the next crossing, this is the world-famous Palace of Justice. This is where the Allies held their trials after World War II. So in front of us you see big posters showing us the flags of the 4 Allied countries who sent their judges here. The United States, the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, and France. And courtroom 600 is located here on the right-hand side behind the pit stop. You see a big tree, and behind that tree there are 4 big windows. Every once in a while we can see some chandeliers in these windows. This is actually where the sessions took place, but all the buildings in front of us, they have been used by the Allies. Langsam weiterfahren, aber möglichst langsam. Does he know photos machen können? Now here on the right hand side, now you see the 4 big windows. 1945-46, it was an international military tribunal with judges by the UK, the US, France and Soviet Union. The verdicts were spoken in October 1946, and then the British, the French and the Soviet judges were leaving Nuremberg, and there were a lot of subsequent American trials here in Nuremberg all the way up to 1949, but they were then a strictly American affair. No more British, no more French, no more Soviet judges. An der nächsten Ampel wenden wir und vorne, oder wenn du irgendwo wenden kannst, und dann fahren wir die Strecke dazu. 45, 41 revenge. They didn't want to start a show trial, they wanted justice. And it really turned out to become justice because it was a fair trial. It took them 1 year to speak Germany, and most of them here in Nuremberg, they live whether in the Südstadt, in the southern part of town, or here in Gostenhof, hence Gostanbul. It's very fresh and reddish looking. So this is here on the left-hand side. Le Méridien and the Park Plaza. The Park Plaza in those days, it failed, and he went to. He was imprisoned just for a short while. That's in mind when they were planning their rally grounds. Here on the right-hand side, have a look at these big mock doors. So when you look at them, immer geradeaus, from you can't do anything. So the aim of the party rallies was to bring the people in line, to give them the idea, alone you are nothing. You are tiny like an ant, you can't do anything, you have to stick together, and then you can survive, and then you even can conquer the world. That was the only aim of the party rallies, and I can tell you the Nazis were very successful in reaching their goal. Hier vorne rechts, wenn es geht, und durch die Mitte interfering in the plannings of the rally grounds very much. He was insisting on a cantilever roof. Do you know what that means? Yep. Any architect will tell you a cantilever roof of that size is just not doable. So the architects of the Congress that they can't do a cantilever roof. But Hitler was not the man. Which is a wonderful open air, a place for open air concerts. But this convinced that Nazi Germany is a nice country. Just 3 years later, that nice country started World War II. So this exhibition is not about the lies, it is about the truth. So glass is transparent, it cannot hide anything. Into the courtyard, when you walk right, you would return to the entrance hall. A courtyard for open air concerts, on the other side the documentation center. 20 or 30 years, but they could not afford to do so. They needed a functioning, hier rechts, they needed a functioning park. Cars were brought into the Congress Hall, there are the Nuremberg Symphonic Orchestra. But whenever economy is going down and people are losing their jobs, they start to complain. Politicians, we need a strong leader. I mean, in the beginning of the Third Reich, Germany was prospering. And even at the beginning of World War II, Germany was conquering all the country. Feel it is our duty. Former rally grounds, all about the former rally grounds. And this is also why the documentation center opened up in the Congress Hall. Half height, that fence over there. Everything which is glorifying Adolf Hitler and National Socialism is prohibited by law.
Yeah, that's
so those of you who have seen employment or off employment, and so whenever you hear in the German news 150 years to realize that there's a new style. The Gothic style was introduced in Germany around the year 1250. This is because our little river, we just have a small river in Nuremberg, the Pegnitz River, a lot of bridges. But even that small river used to be a very bad troublemaker, and there were a lot of floodings until they made this this lake here on the right-hand side where they can control the so-called Nuremberg, which later changed to Nuremberg in the year 1050. So 1050 AD was the year in which the name Nuremberg for the first time appeared in an official document. And now we Castle of Nuremberg. Here on the left-hand side, this building with all the windows in the roof was a granary, a youth hostel. So for instance, I, as a youngster, I wanted to stay one night there, and they asked me where I'm from. I said Nuremberg. Richest citizens of Nuremberg to bring out their finest furniture and carpets into the rooms for the time when the emperor was around and when the court was moving on. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that Nuremberg in a very small nutshell. All the other car drivers mad on us giving you the chance to take a picture of the half-timbered houses. Thanks, Willie.
Yeah.